Bridgette, my love, welcome to the show.
Thank you. So good to be here.
I know it's so nice to see you through Zoom. I feel like we get to see each other maybe once a year in person. We'll like randomly be at an event together and it's like, oh my God, how have you been? We have to catch up. And then we never do. So I figured if we put it on the calendar as a podcast, then it has to happen.
It's happening today.
It's happening. I love it. Just do like a quick little soundbite intro for our audience who's listening, who maybe doesn't know who you are or they haven't followed you yet. And if you could just explain even what a fractional CFO is while you're talking about it, because I feel like that would be great for our listeners.
Yes. So I am Bridgette Boucha and I am a fractional CFO, like Jess mentioned. I'm also a author and speaker. So
Yeah.
fractional CFO. So CFO stands for Chief Financial Officer, and it really is the person that kind of buddies up to business owners to help them with their financial strategy, to get some clarity, give them some empowerment, educate them on some of the tools that are available. We also offer, I have an operations side of the business for bookkeeping. We work with CPAs to tax strategize for you, as well as personal financial advisors to make sure that all your financial pictures and strategies are kind of going in the right direction. So it's been
Yeah.
a really fun way to get business owners to step into their next level leaders as their business scales.
Oh, I love that. Is there a level, like a requirement, like a minimum of your business should be doing X, Y, Z in revenue before you bring someone in like a fractional CFO?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I think, we work with pre-revenue companies as well.
Oh,
So if
wow.
people are raising capital and they are launching products, that is a different season of a business where you would need like financial modeling potentially to get in front of an investor, start to plan how much product you need to order, those kinds of things. But for the service-based entrepreneur, which I think a lot of your audience is, it's really when your business becomes bigger than you.
Mm,
And so what I mean by that is you're starting to actually make decisions with the money that you're bringing in, right? You're responsible for more resources, more people. You're looking to scale. So you're starting to look at, what do I need to invest in? Who do I need to invest? Where do I fit in? What do I even enjoy? What do I want to delegate? And so you start to make decisions like that. I mean, I'll tell you a secret. Every decision that you make in your business has a financial impact.
wait, what?
Minutes are money. So business owners, we
Ooh,
try to do things all ourselves, which we oftentimes have to when we're coming and getting clarity and doing launches. And I know Jess has some brilliant strategies that she shared with you all. And as your business starts to scale and you start to make these decisions, I know that there's more at stake and you want somebody on your side. We've been called like the financial fairy godmothers, right? You want somebody to be like, hey, what am I not considering? What am I thinking about? So what I mean is your business becomes bigger than you. It means that there's more involved, there's more decisions that need to be made. And you really just want that advisement. You want to feel like you're doing things that are for the betterment of the company and anybody that's involved in it
yeah.
alongside you.
Yeah. I feel like this is something that I've seen. I don't know if you have. I feel like, especially with service providers and coaches, we focus so much on content creation and customer fulfillment and social media and marketing and all these things. And then when we finally start making the money, it's at that point that there's a lot of resistance from business owners to hire someone like yourself, where it's like, no, no, no. But the irony is like, you're finally making the money. Don't you want to know the smart decisions and smart paths? Like, wouldn't it make the most sense to actually get the guidance and support to best allocate the money and like learn what to do with hiring and stuff? So yeah, I think it's one of those things where oftentimes we almost hire out of reaction instead of being proactive about it. And so yeah, I don't know if you see that.
Yeah, I do see that. It's interesting because to your point in the intro is like a lot of people don't understand necessarily what a CFO is, what it stands for, let alone what it actually does. And so I help you think big picture on some of those things, and then having your books up to date, knowing your numbers. Like you don't have to do your numbers, you just need to know your numbers, right? And how you can use them to go ahead and reach some of your financial goals, but also your personal goals. I mean, it's all
Yeah.
connected, right? Your business should be set up in a way that supports both, personal, professional, and we'll throw in financial as well. You have goals and they all need to be going in the right direction. So when I do hear that, what I do want to, kind of share is, you get the strategies and the support in place now so that you can get there faster, right? It's
Mm,
like any business strategy. It's like any mastermind, any coaching. You are trying to get the guidance, reduce your learning curve, take what's for you, leave what's not. Well, money's always going to be around. It's never going anywhere. So the sooner you can develop a better relationship with it, and the sooner you can take that money that you're earning, that hard-earned money that you've generated, and make it work for you, the better off you're going to be. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's a life lesson.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. I'm curious, you spent what, 15 years in corporate America?
I did.
Yeah.
Yes, I grew up in
So
corporate.
you grew up in corporate, did the 15 years in like a very traditional, I'm picturing you in like a women's blazer suit outfit,
Totally. Nailed it.
which you rocked, by the way, in my head. Um, and then you transitioned just a couple of years ago into full-time entrepreneurship, building your own thing, helping small businesses, creating content online. This year, congratulations, becoming a best-selling author in like it seems overnight to me. I mean, I didn't write the book, but it seems like it was overnight. I'm curious if you always had sort of that growth mindset, because I feel like working in corporate America, it's very like, here are the numbers, come in, clock out, do this thing, stay inside the lines. And you just said something even in this quick little sentence you were talking about, you said something about mindset. And something I love so much about you is how you integrate mindset and sort of like your relationship to money and the root of these things and where it's coming from with the things that you're actually teaching. Has that always been there for you?
Hell no. I can assure you that my career path was much more traditional, right? I basically came out of school and said, I'm going to get my accounting degree and I want to climb the corporate ladder. It was very clear to me. It was logical. I'm pretty right-brained in that, aspect of, I was told growing up, the key to success, the key to having choices is to have a solid education and a stable job. So I just went all in on it. And so for 15 years, I did that. I was able to climb the ladder. I knew my next best step. I knew that I could get promoted. I made CFO. I was only 30 years old at the time, women-owned business here in Atlanta. It allowed me opportunities. I traveled, I relocated. I'm originally from Minnesota. I've been in Atlanta now 20 years because of that path. It gave me so much. But when I left it was actually 7 years ago that I left. I was going to take a little break. Haven't gone back yet, guys. Spoiler alert. But during that time, I was doing all the things that I thought was still bringing myself to the table. But what I realized is when I actually left that environment and was out here on my own and I had no way to really have external validation, that's when I realized how much I depended on it.
Wow.
I was just accomplished driven. I mean, I wanted the next best step. I wanted the promotion. I wanted people to like me. I wanted to run a marathon and get the medal. Like, it was so logical, just
Are you a
gold
3,
stars
an
everywhere.
Enneagram 3?
I don't know.
Oh, Tracy,
Question.
help us.
That is definitely on my list, but I'm betting if you can see that in me, I probably am. But those are the things that I didn't realize. So after I left corporate, back to your point, is I didn't really have language for it at the time. I didn't even really know why I was quitting. I was just over, I was giving up everything that I had worked for. And all of a sudden it just wasn't in alignment with who I was, but I didn't know how to even speak about it. And so once I started, kind of getting out of that environment and silencing my world around me, I had to go inward. I had to figure out what was making me tick. And my personal development journey kind of started when I got into some network marketing. That was a gift that gave me. I didn't really read books or let alone write books. Like, kind of crazy to think about. But that's when I started to really repair and improve, I would say, my relationship to self, and shed some layers that I'd picked up along the way that didn't really feel like me.
Yeah.
And it was then and only then, over the last several years. So we met 4 years ago. That was my first mastermind ever. Definitely a pivotal point for me, because I was able to realize that, damn, I've been on this journey for a long time and I don't want to abandon my skill set. I just want to repackage it and put some solutions out into the world in a way that feels more me.
Ooh, that's the soundbite. I just got chills. I don't want to abandon my skill set. I just want to repackage it in a way that feels good to me to help other people. Like, oh my gosh. How did you see that though?
It was interesting because when I first left corporate, I kind of took a little break and did everything but CFOing. Right. And then at some point, the bank account was like, hey, remember me? Right. And so I went back and did some corporate, like, fractional CFO, which is different than what I do now because I serve a different audience. But what I realized, Jess, is I completely just didn't change enough. And so what I realized, I was kind of just doing the same thing with different bosses. I wasn't really putting my own spin on it, my own voice. I was kind of playing that role again. And if you picture, I might not have been wearing a suit, but I might as well have been, right? Then I got in the room, the same room Jess and I were in when we met the first time. And I started having conversations with these just incredible humans with that most positive energy, just just invigorating to get in their presence, because they were so confident, they were so motivated, they were positive, and they were talking about everything, like their travels and their financials, or not their financials, certainly not their financials. They were talking about marketing strategies and funnels and teams and their families and all these things. And I was just listening to them, and I was leaning in, and I was so nervous because I didn't know if I belonged there. And then it dawned on me. We started having conversations, and the minute I asked about finances, they froze.
Every
It's
single one
like
of
the
us.
energy drained from the face. I say that it was like the abundance mindset that they spoke from turned into avoidance.
Ooh.
And I realized, oh my gosh, I didn't realize where I fit in this room. And they hold every puzzle piece to their business. And I happen to hold the one that they were avoiding. And that was money. That was a safe place to talk about finances, to bounce ideas off of. And so that is where I really started to uncover the fact that these are the people that need help most. It's a really underserved market, and I can help them. So how can I do that? And that's when I started using my own voice, my own language. I started waving my weird flag. I started uncovering more about personal development. And that's when my most aligned clients started recognizing, hey, I can kind of see myself in her.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing that before. I was really going more from the external strategy versus like, how do I want to show up? What energy do I want to attract in? And that has been the most aligned and the most fun season of my business over the last couple of years.
Yeah. Well, and you found such a beautiful, like I said before, it's what I love about you. You found such a beautiful dance. I don't really believe in balance, but a dance between, like, the book you wrote is called Money Queen, right? And so from the outside, that can seem very fluffy and like very just, oh, that's cute, and like mindset and whatever, and energetics, and like that, maybe that's not my jam. But then you get into the core of it, and you're still teaching like cash flow and how to be profitable and strategies that you can't live without, while also talking about the mindset stuff and talking about the connection between your mindset and how you run your business. And so that's what I love about you most, hands down, because you marry the two worlds in a way that it's fun and playful, but also it's so much more approachable, because we talk about this a lot on the podcast, especially when we have mindset coaches on. We talk about the idea of rewiring your brain, right? Subconscious rewiring, and how so many people will just try to lay new flooring down on a moldy floor when we're talking about mindset. And it's like, I'm going to just affirmation my way there. I'm going to post it, sticky note my way there. I'm going to meditate my way there. And you're just kind of putting new flooring on a moldy floor. But instead, when you get like a really great subconscious mindset coach, or, you're doing hypno breath work or something, the idea is that you're taking up the moldy floor, cleaning it off, and then putting new flooring down. And you're doing the exact same thing around money stories. So let's talk about that for a second. What is the correlation or connection between someone's money story, and what is a money story, and then how they run their business?
It runs deep, y'all. I mean, we all know it's all connected, right? We're one source, one being. So how we show up in our personal life is similar to how we're going to show up in our business, and money's the same. It's no different. And what I mean by that is your money story is really your belief, your experience, your habits, and your behaviors around money. And we all have one, and it evolves over time, but it can't really change if you're not looking at it. So I start the book about your money story of kind of thinking of 3 different areas where it may have come up. It's your upbringing, right? Like how you grew up, what you grew up, what resources you grew up with, and how your money was talked about, or was it a reward? Was it a punishment? Right? It can kind of be both. I always say money is like tofu, like takes on the flavor of the dish. And so the more you have, it's going to take on your flavor. There's a lot of good that can be done with it, but if you're already kind of an ass, then you're going to become more of an ass. If you have more money, it just amplifies it. So that's the money story, your upbringing. It's also your personal experiences. So if you had a lot of debt, or got yourself out of debt, or are currently in debt, no shame in that. It's all teaching you something. You probably had a heck of a lot of fun doing that. Whatever that is, that can change today though. You just have to be intentional about it. And the third way is really like who you're surrounding yourself with and how they speak about money or possibility. The biggest game changer for me was getting in a room with these entrepreneurs who were dreaming bigger than I ever knew how to. I just didn't have any examples. I didn't have a community like I have now to be like, is this crazy? And they're like, no, let's make it happen. Let's do it 10 times bigger. Right. It's actually really inspiring and fun. And to a point, and Jess, I think you'll probably agree, being in so many containers over the years yourself, is you still have to know your goals are and get really clear with your goals, because it's very easy to get into a room of people that are super inspiring and doing really big things and almost feel like you're not doing enough.
Yeah.
And so I want to give you permission to say, like, there's no revenue goal that's worth your peace, for one.
Yeah.
And just because it is for somebody else doesn't mean it's for you. So the bigger part after the money story in the book is really defining what you want out of life. What's your fuller life? What's that version? I can have a very profitable business and still spend a month overseas and have the machine running. Maybe I don't want to offer something where people need me every single day.
Right.
Right? It's going to take some iterations to get there, but your financial strategy, your money story, and all of the components of defining your fuller life are what's really going to allow that to happen. So the connection is huge. However, your money story has been up to this point is going to be completely escalated in a business format because there's more resources, there's more opportunities. When I think about the financial strategy, I was like thinking of your amazing metaphor about the flooring and the mindset. When I think about your financial strategy, you have to look at all your resources. And I use the metaphor of a buffet line. Okay. So, you've all been to the buffet line where you've got one plate and you start to load up in the front of the buffet line. You get to the end and you're like, oh, that was my favorite thing. I didn't even get there. I have no room on my plate. Right. For a financial strategy and looking at your business, you have to go through the full buffet line. You have to look at everything that's available to you and all your options. And then we get to go back and pick the favorites and put them together and make sure that it's in a way that's going to ultimately serve what you want out of life, what you want out of business, who you want to impact. And so it's been really fun to be able to do this for entrepreneurs. But the money story is absolutely the root of it, because some of us don't really even think we have one.
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say. Do you have, I'm like Miss Tactical Tangible. So do you have tactical tangible steps? Is there like a process that you walk people through where they can sort of start to uncover their money story? Or if they already know what it is, then what's the next step? Like, what do they do with it? Do you just magically snap your fingers? Are you doing like 3 claps and 6 spins and then all of a sudden it's the new story? Like, how do you actually move through it?
I love that because I've seen you dance on Instagram. So it's kind of back to what you said. We're both tactical, but I'm part logic, part magic. Okay. So there's always going to be something tangible, but there's going to be something that is intangible, right? Because they coexist. And both of them are part of your solution, no matter what your problem is. So basically what I would say is I would walk you through in the chapter in the books that talks about the money story and where it might be coming from. There's some journal prompts in there. You kind of have to ask yourself, like, what do I believe to be true about money? Do I think that it is the root of all evil? Do I think that there's not enough for me because so-and-so is doing it? I give a reference in the book that I did a Google search for fractional CFO. It was like 1 million hits in 0.3 seconds, right?
Yeah.
I could look at that and say, pick a new career path, right?
Right.
But I didn't. I looked at it and said, wow, I'm in demand.
Yeah. There's market demand. This is great.
And there's not a lot of fractional CFOs who are, wearing gladiator sandals and, want to work from Bali sometimes. So it's okay. That's where I get kind of chiseled down into the uniqueness of it. Because what makes you credible is not what makes you incredible. So I have the same skill set as these people. I might have the same letters behind my name. We might have gone to the same college. We might have had corporate experience together. But guess what? You're unique in your own, it's your style, right? It's your voice, it's your delivery, it's how you make people feel, it's the way that you solve a problem. And so I would encourage you, as you start to identify these things that you believe to be true in your money story, I would invite you to then go out and seek out where that has been proven not to be true. And hang out with people that have really been able to do the things that you think you're either not worthy of. And encourage you to start small, it's micro steps. You want to create quick wins for yourself. So for example, if you're like, well, I've got some debt and therefore I feel like I can't get out from underneath it. I just feel like I'm always behind. Find a resource that can help you create a debt payoff plan. Figure out how much you can chip away at it. If your problem, current day, challenge, I'll say, is I'm underpricing. Real common entrepreneurs. If you're listening, you're like, she sees me. We've all done it. But if that is something for you that feels like an unworthiness money story, then I would also encourage you to really evaluate what the value is, the problem you're solving, not the time it takes, right? But the transformation we've all talked about, and start to, you're basically trying to assign the value that feels good to you, that it's an intangible. And sometimes it's not always so clear cut when you're doing pricing. But I will tell you that as you deliver and as you build confidence, you're one price point away, one client away from confidence at the new price point is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And so there can be unworthiness. There can be the debt factor. There can be, I don't like numbers. I'm creative, right? I hear that a lot. I'm creative. The numbers give me like hives. I just don't like it. That's okay. That they're not your jam right now. But if you get the right resource, or you start to develop the right habits of setting a monthly money date with yourself, for example, and saying, let me set the stage. Let me light a candle. Let me pour a beverage. Let me like log into my systems and kind of see where I am and where I want to go. I can assure you that your comfortability, however you say it, is going to improve over
Right.
that time, because you're building a consistent practice. I call it a ritual.
Love that.
And it's kind of like, I'll say it, you have to look the money monster in the face and
Right.
then make her prettier over time.
Yeah, you can't grow what you can't manage. And if you can't see it, you can't manage it, right? Like you have to look at the problem, or not even a
Mm-hmm.
problem. Let's not call it that, especially because it's such
Right.
a taboo word, but like you
Mm-hmm.
have to look at it. There has to be an awareness of it. And like you said
Mm-hmm.
earlier, without judgment. And I think that's the biggest piece, because people feel oftentimes ignorance is bliss. So it's easier to push it under the rug, forget it's under the bed. That monster just lives there. We're going to ignore it, ignore it, ignore it. And then one day the problem gets so bad, right? Or you become so distant from it. When we're talking about, call it that, right? Like a challenge, a problem, or something that you don't see, something that I hear a lot, and I maybe have even said it out loud myself over the years, is like, I don't understand where it all went.
Mm.
Where it's like, I made all this money, where did it go? Or the revenue last month was X, where is it? Right. And I feel like I've heard that a lot from especially our higher level elite clients, who ironically are the ones that are doing $500,000 to $1 million a year. And it's kind of like, oh my gosh, where did it go? And it's not that they're necessarily poor at money management, but I think sometimes there's a disconnect between, first of all, revenue and profit. If we could talk about that for a second, because there's a huge misconception, thanks to the marketing industry, that revenue and profit are the same thing, and they are not. Your revenue is kind of a moot point. But there's revenue, there's profit, there's overhead. How do we actually improve our profitability?
Mm-hmm. I love this question, and I'm glad that you brought it up. I try to simplify it for people, because people will say there's so many numbers to look at. Which ones do I look at? And I break it down to 5, and we'll talk about them as well. But like revenue is certainly one of them, but it's the sexy metric. It's do I have a comment in it, and am I going for a 7-figure mark? And there's nothing wrong with that at all, as long as it aligns with what you're trying to do. So revenue is one of them, but gross profit is the second one, for that very important reason that Jess just mentioned. It's not what you sell it for, it's what you get to keep. So there are costs to directly selling your services, certainly for your products, if you're a product-based business, but services as well. It might just be harder to quantify. Maybe you have an affiliate, for example, affiliate program. Maybe you have, services don't have as many direct costs, but either way. So you got revenue, you got gross profit, you got burn rate. So Jess alluded to this with your overhead. It's basically, what's it cost you to run your business, even if you didn't sell anything? So literally, if you had a month where, oh my gosh, something, either you weren't launching, maybe you were in Bali for a month, like I want to be, right? Whatever. What would it still cost you? This is software subscriptions. This is dues. This is, those kinds of fees, maybe that are recurring. Maybe you even have an admin, right? Like that would be in your burn rate. And then you've got net income, which is after any other expenses. Should you maybe have a one-time, you invest in a mastermind, you have some travel, whatever it is. And the fifth one is cash, right? So cash is the most important thing, because net income is not cash. There's certainly a lot of other things that go into play that are going to hit your bank account that might not just be very obvious if you scroll down to the bottom of a P&L, like so many business owners do, and just go positive, negative, good, bad. Like that's just kind of like the quick and dirty. But cash is where you're really going to be able to work in your business and use it in your business. So what Jess was basically saying is, I have this big launch, or I have all this, I generated all this money. Where did it go? And so part of understanding your burn rate is to understand what you are doing at baseline. At baseline right now, do these resources that I'm actually paying for still align with what I'm putting out into the world? That is one. The other one is going to say, okay, am I putting it into a financial strategy for myself, my own personal wealth plan? Have I made investments in humans, in programs, in any sort of other assets? Where is that cash going? And it better be going, ideally, as you start to reach certain income levels, in certain areas that will work for you. So it could be retirement vehicles that your, tax strategist says, hey, I want, I'd rather reduce your tax liability. Let's throw it into here. Or you could say, hey, I need some more in my area because I'm buying real estate. I'm setting myself up to generate some more passive income. Those are some other ways that you can do it, but it goes back to the point of visibility. Because if you don't pay attention to your cash, it will most certainly disappear.
Mm. Yeah. It's so
Intentionally or
simple.
not intentionally.
It's so simple. It's so simple, right? It's kind of like credit cards. It's just like so easy to swipe them, but then it's like the reality of what it actually is, which is why I think so many, I'll say like kids in their 20s. I feel like it's so common when you're in your 20s to have insane credit card debt. Not that it's not later on in life, but like I just remember having so many friends in my early 20s who had crazy credit card debt. And I'm like very grateful. I grew up with a very conservative, not strict, but like I was, my dad taught me a lot about money. And so credit cards and how to do it and checking and all that stuff. And so I'm so grateful that I had that growing up. I didn't have any credit card debt. And then I had friends, $30,000, $50,000, $100,000 in credit card debt. I'm like, what did you not realize like what that was? Like you have to pay it back. It's not just, free money and then there's interest and, so story for another day, but shame on our school districts for not teaching these things.
Right. And it is one of those things that I even share a story in the book is like, I didn't come out of the womb knowing how to manage money.
Of course not.
Like I actually have family members who are terrible at managing money. I myself have been bad at managing my own money. I happen to be in college as well.
Yeah.
So there's a theme
exactly.
there. There's a theme there. But I think it's about what you do with it. We do what we do. And Jess does what she does with her amazing programs and teachings because she solved the problem for herself. She's helped other people solve the problems or improve or scale or whatever the solution might be at hand. And I think that to me is so much more relatable to have somebody that's gone through it that didn't just always know it.
Yeah.
I might love spreadsheets and that might be something that differentiates me from some other people, but it's not that I've never been in a position where money's been tight.
Sure.
I left.
Yeah, you're not immune to that.
No, I left the stability of a very, good corporate job with benefits and all these things. And I voluntarily left and I was penny pitching because I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with life. I know that feeling, and then I played really, really small, just trying to think, oh, as long as I don't have to go and do a corporate job, I just want to cover my bills. And then the next season was, wow, I can actually do more with this. Oh, this can actually be fun. It challenges me every single day.
Yeah.
And I'm okay. I'm here for that because I know the alternative.
Right.
So I invite you to really think about what do you really want and what are you working for? Are you in it for the long haul?
Yeah.
James Clear is one of my favorite. I feel like, he's I love his quotes and he says, think long-term, act short-term.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say, whether this is for a business owner or just a person who's not a business owner, right? Someone working a 9 to 5, or maybe they don't work at all. What's like the bare minimum that we should be how often should we be checking in and looking at our numbers?
I would say the bare minimum would be monthly. So I love the monthly money date. I have a guide on it with those 5 numbers, why they're important. Because, look at it this way, so the great example is, even if you're not a business owner, you can still be the CFO of your own life. You still have the same components. You still have revenue or some form of income, right? You still have a burn rate. You have a personal burn rate. You still have cash, right? So you can apply some of these in any way, shape, or form because you have some of the same levers that you're going to play with. And so it's like with any story, you're going to be able to evaluate it on both sides. So me as a CFO, I come in and I say for business owners, your business funds your life. How do we optimize your business to be able to fund your life? And then we pass off to your financial advisor and say, okay, are we in sync? Will the business sustain the plan that Jess wants to reach in 5, 10, 15 years? And then your tax strategist comes in and says, okay, you all did this. Let's make sure, right? And all 3 of us work together.
Right.
And so that's felt really good and important because we all have different skill sets. You know how people just get kind of looped into one bucket, like, oh, I'm an accountant, so I must do taxes. I must be good with separating the bill at dinner.
Yep. Well, one of our mutual friends are the accountant inside of our courses, and Shannon, she always talks about how it's like for her being an accountant or a CPA, and then also having like a lawyer who's another mutual friend of ours. It's a nutritionist and a trainer. Like you need both, right? Like we have these villages, we have these teams. And so each person is going to be more nuanced, or they're going to be more of an expert in that one particular area, but all of those areas together, it's like baking a cake. It's like we need all of the ingredients for the recipe. All right, let's shift gears for a second. I don't remember, Kelly would kill me, when the event was. I think it was in the fall where we went to Kelly's launch, or her opening. It was the fall or the winter, bumped into each other there in Scottsdale. And you said,
Yep.
I'm writing a book. You know, it's the whole like, hey, what are you up to? What's going on? What's new and exciting? And you've dropped this bomb. I'm writing a book. And I was like, what? Tell me everything. And now we're sitting here, not even a year later. I know for sure it wasn't a year ago. And you're a best-selling author of this book.
Mm-hmm.
You're on tour for this freaking book. I want to hear everything about it. What was the process like? Why did you decide to wake up one day and say, today's the day I'm going to write a book? Was it something you always wanted to do?
Yeah, it's a really great question. And for context for everybody, it really wasn't that long ago. So if you have something on your heart and you just need the right support and the resources to do it. And I'll share a little behind the scenes on that, how that looked for me. But, I think writing a book came up. I think I always had a little bit of that inside me, that desire. I didn't know what it would be about. And truth be told, last year when I started really kind of writing, it was more of a personal story. I wasn't sure if it would ever make print or anything like that. And then I realized after doing a lot of speaking and masterminds and helping other communities, get a little new lens and some tips on their finances, I realized there were so many people out there that I wanted to help that I weren't ready for us yet, weren't ready for a program or the hire. And how can I get this information into their hands in more of a legacy format? And so I take all the things, all the patterns that I've been seeing working with hundreds of entrepreneurs in various capacities over the last years. How can I put it into a simplified framework? How can I make it something that they can read on a 4 to 5 hour plane ride, something that travels well, whether they're going to the beach or whatnot? How can I do that in a way that reaches more people? And that's where the book idea was born. I was talking about it with a mutual mentor of ours, who introduced me to a client of yours. We are very intertwined if you all don't hear this yet. But basically, he has a program about getting your book into the world. And I know for me, like, think back to my gold star chasing days, and I need a little kick in the pants. And I interviewed 2 different book coaches. I felt I needed, I've been a lot more of a feminine lately than my masculine was all corporate. And now I kind of, do the dance between both. But I felt like I wanted to get this done and I didn't have time to let it linger. I wanted the framework. I kept getting stuck in my writing because I wasn't sure of the next step. And I was very logical and tactical in my process of, oh, who cares if I'm writing this? I don't even know what I do after this. I don't know how to self-publish. I need a guide. I need a framework. Give me a list. I'll follow it. I'm very coachable. I like that. Right. Yeah. And so I ended up joining that program. I actually signed February 21st, my commitment letter.
Wow.
February 21st. I started writing in March. The book launched September 12th. Which was when it hit the bestseller. It was very exciting. And now I'm going to my 4th city book tour. So, right.
And it's October 11th, the day that we're recording this. So literally not even a year, not even close to a year.
Right. And honestly, like if you've ever written a book or any sort of journey like this, where there's these milestones, the book was done a while ago, right? Like my part was done. And then it goes into, the publishing and the different things that you've got to be able to do. And so all that to say is, if there's something on your heart, and it doesn't have to be a book, it can be anything that requires guidance and support, focused energy and focused time with the right resources will result in a faster outcome.
It's so good. So Money Queen, a simple financial framework for soulful entrepreneurs to run a profitable business while living a fuller life. Was that, how do I phrase this? Like, was that the vision and then the book came, or did the book get written first and then the title kind of came in after?
Actually, the title came in on my clarity call with my book coach, because like I said, I was almost thinking about writing more of a personal project. This is where it's so funny to me to look back and go, I didn't even have language for like the word alignment when I left corporate. Yeah. And now I'm like, ooh, how can I share my life story in a book? And what ended up happening was I kept getting stuck in some of those personal stories of unpacking, because I realized I was still healing from it. And that's okay. It was completely fine. When I got on with my coach, I was talking to him about what I do and how I solve problems, what I put out into the world. What does that framework look like? What's my process? And that first call, we had my outline basically completely done. And I had never felt more relief, more clarity, I basically had the framework I could put out into the, pages, just write and say, this is what I do every day. Oh my gosh, this makes so much more sense. This feels like, and I'm in alignment. And so as a result of that, I got a lot of clarity around my own processes in writing it. I also was able to get it into a format that I felt like was more digestible.
Yeah.
And I remember the people I'm talking to are lovely humans. They're creative, they're passionate, they're inspiring. I'm not trying to make you an accountant.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even try, right? I am trying to be able to give you some tools, put a little story behind it, and really connect with you on a business owner to business owner standpoint by saying, here's some tips, here's resources that accompany the book. You can come back to it at any time. Again, money's not going anywhere, thankfully.
Right. Yeah. So I have a selfish question. Isn't that all podcasting questions? So like,
Right.
this is wonderful. So I've always wanted to write a book. I've wanted to write a lot of books, and I know that I will one day. And I know that there'll be different iterations. I feel, and this could be a story that I'm telling myself and maybe why I haven't actually started, but I feel like with this particular type of book, where it's a little bit more educational, a little bit more how to, like you said, a legacy book. For me, when I think about what I teach, over the years, as I've learned more, I feel like I know less. And over the years, as I've learned more, I've changed my own approach. I've changed my own opinion. I've changed my perspective. And so has there been, and it hasn't been that long, it hasn't even been a year yet, but in the book writing process, was there ever a moment where you were like, I have to go back and change that chapter, or edit that chapter because I actually don't even believe it, or I want to say it in a different way or a better way? And if so, I'm assuming the coach is the way that you get out of the loop of like continuously and constantly editing it and editing. Because I feel like I'd just be in an editing loop.
Oh, it's so true. Oh my gosh. Yes. We're forever students. We want to learn and grow. We're always challenging ourselves and trying new ways. So I felt stuck a good bit in kind of saying, well, how do I put a pin in something that I'm still living through?
Right.
And so a perfect example for this money topic was, I work with clients all the time, and we have thankfully buckets of clients and different group coaching and different things like that. And so I'm always hearing new perspectives. I'd love to add to it. Oh, it's like, and another thing, right? Like that concept. And being unable to do that, I had to just become okay with it. And what I'll tell you is, I think back to some of the books that I've read from like Elizabeth Gilbert or, oh my gosh, why am I blanking on Abby's wife, Glennon Doyle, right? I'm thinking of some of these books that have been written about their lives and their seasons of life and how drastically their lives change after they have written that book. And then they just write another book, right?
Right.
So the story doesn't have to end there. I think that anybody that is going to read about your strategies or your stories or different things, life experiences, business experiences, is seeking guidance from that perspective, from Jess, from that point of view. Throw a disclaimer in there if it makes you feel better. But once it goes to print, then you can just write a sequel. You can write a follow-up. You can even talk about it. What a great topic to be like, at this time when I wrote this, this is what my belief was about this, and this is why it shifted. That would be my advice of that. There are a lot of people out there that can benefit from what you have to share. Yeah. So when you're ready, I know that that's going to be
me. You're talking to me. Thank you.
I'm talking to you. She's talking into a microphone, but she's looking.
I thought you were talking you collective to our listeners. She is as well. But yes, I received that. Thank you so much. Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I sort of loosely say started the process last year of writing a book, but a children's book. And so that just felt very different. That's not a how-to. It has nothing to do with my business. There's no pressure. I'm not going to change the way I think about it. It's a fictitious tale of my dog. It was just so different, we'll circle back to that. It truly was not the right time. Okay, let's chat a little bit more about the book, because I think this is so fascinating. Who exactly is it for?
Yes. Okay. So, Jess had alluded to the title before, Money Queen. Money Queen is less of a person and more of a mindset.
Ooh.
This book is about money, and this book is how I want you to feel about money, like royalty, whatever that means to you. So when I think about this book, it is best suited for an entrepreneur who is looking to really build a business that feels like it's supporting the lifestyle that they want. I have been down the road many times of taking a step back and looking at my business and being like, is this actually taking me in the direction that I want to go? Or am I, oh my gosh, I'm so glad my marketing strategies are working, so I'm just saying yes to everybody, and all of a sudden I'm burnt out and I don't have the team in place. We've all been there. There's different seasons of business. I'd love to tell you this is the last time I'll ever be in that position, but I'm always learning too. And so this book is really to guide you. It's for the business owner who is really looking to get some clarity, to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. I have something to refer back to. I have some resources to start to build these money rituals so that I can not just improve my relationship with it, but as I generate more money, I have ideas about what to do with it. I know my options. Now I just have to choose. And that feels so much more empowering than being kind of stuck and feeling like directionless. And so that was my purpose the whole time, is to say, Money Queen, it's more of a mindset. It starts there. Everything else will come into place. And let's just be honest, things will change.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to be a corporate CFO more than anything. I thought I was going to be a lifer, you all. I thought I was just going to stay there and just, end up owning the company someday. Hey, I wanted the corner office. I have a corner office. It's in my house.
It's very nice.
Sometimes it's on a plane. Sometimes it's in an Airbnb. That's okay. Things change. And as a result of that, your business should also change. Your resources should also change. Your community should also change, right? We're all evolving. And so I want you to have something that you can take with you on that journey that makes you feel less alone about your money.
I love that. What was the most meaningful chapter for you to write?
That's a really great question. The tangible stuff are the things that I do all the time. And those are the lessons that I want to pass along. I think for me, it was really writing about some of my journey and my upbringing. So, part of my money story is my upbringing. I grew up with divorced parents, and, there was kind of some unpacking for me of like, what did I take with me? What kind of things, what examples were set for me? I think anytime you write a book, this is, somebody who you might know, Jess, as well, has asked the same question that you did. Hey, I want to write a book. I get stuck because of XYZ. And one of the things that I want to tell anybody out there, if you're looking to share your story on a podcast interview, in a book, wherever it is, don't get worried about sharing so much that you're going to hurt somebody. You can always share experiences from the lens that it impacted you. You can imply things. You don't have to share all of it. When I think about how I grew up or different things like that, I mean, nobody in my family is a CFO. Not a soul. Many of them didn't even go to college, right? And that's okay. That's their story. So me being able to say, I took these tools and these lessons, and this is where the direction that I took them, is really just saying, we all grew up in the same way, and then we get to make our choices.
Yeah.
And I don't have to feel any sort of way about sharing too much, too little, putting any sort of, meaning behind it. Another James Clear quote: the past is fixed, the meaning is not. So we get to take all of these things that we have that have gotten us to this point and make a decision with how we want to move forward with them. Like, how do we want to actually take the tools and the lessons and all the experiences that we have and kind of move forward more intentionally. And that part to me has been really helpful in looking at the book. So the meaningful side to me was really with my family. And I know, Jess, you and I spoke about this, but on my book tour just a few weeks ago, my dad passed away.
Yeah.
And it was unexpected, and I was out of town. And one of the beautiful things, if I really think about this, that this book project gave me, I got to write about him. I got to acknowledge him in the back of the book. I got to celebrate with him. On our last text messages were about, the best-selling author. He was also had written a book years ago. So it was a point that it was a gift I didn't even know was going to happen. Right. Yeah. And I just think, for anybody listening who has lifey things going on in the middle of your business, we get it. Both Jess and I get it. And it's going to continue to happen. And so to surround yourself with people that really support you and make sure that, you feel held and you feel like you've got the system in place. I mean, I wouldn't trade any of it. It was a beautiful experience for so many different reasons. And now I have this tangible book to be able to hold.
So good. Look at it. It's so cute. So pretty in her royal purple.
I know. Thank you so much.
Where can people find the book, buy the book, and tell us about your last stop on your tour you have coming up?
Yes. So the book is on Amazon. It's available on Amazon. It's also available on my website. If people have communities and are looking for speakers, signed copies, I do that as well. That can be found at bridgetteBoucha.com. Obviously, everybody knows Amazon's address. And then
Emma, what?
Amazon. And so, yeah, that's where the book is available. My website also has all of our fractional CFO services, our signature money mapping VIP days, any, money questions that you have, events and community leaders. It's a great way to get some resources into your people's hands, because if you are holding an event for an entrepreneur, you're likely helping them be successful in their business. So then give them the tool to get the money piece in place when you do.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm.
So you have New York left, my favorite city.
I do have New York left. Oh, yes.
I mean, come on. You can't
final stop.
City.
The final stop is exactly. The final stop is November 2nd. It's Thursday in New York. And I invite anybody in New York, the surrounding areas, anybody that knows people in New York that wants to come celebrate the book, get a copy of the book, have some drinks, naps. I would love to hug you. I'd love to squeeze you and just continue this celebration. It's been a really fun season, a really emotional season, but I know for a fact I am just fueled by human connection. And so to get to do this in person with people just completely makes my heart smile.
I'm so excited. I would be there if I could. I cannot believe that when you were in Scottsdale doing your tour, we were in New York, and when you're going to be in New York, I'm technically going to be in Texas, making my way back to Scottsdale, hosting our elite retreat. But everybody else listening should absolutely go if you're nearby. Even Canadians, you can fly down. It's super, super easy flight, right? So yes, definitely head over to the tour. We'll put all of your information, your social media handles, website, your book, obviously on Amazon. We'll put that in the show notes. Where can people find you if they want to just connect with you directly? Where do you hang out most?
All the time on Instagram. It's at Bridgette Boucha.
And it's Boucha.
Correct. Yes.
All right. Bridgette Boucha. Let's wrap with a couple questions. Rapid fire. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I would love to know, if I were to cut you a check tomorrow, this is our $50,000 question. If I gave you $50,000 tomorrow that you had to invest back into your business, you could break it apart in one lump sum. You could use it in one chunk, but it had to go back into the business. How would you allocate it?
Team.
Ooh, team. One person, 2 people, 5 people?
Right now we're hiring 2 full-time employees. So as much as that would get me.
Yeah. I love it. So good. Let's see, I have to ask, obviously your book, but what else are you currently reading or listening to?
Oh, that's a great question. It's fun getting on the other side of the author program. So I have Lewis Howes' new book. I haven't gotten too deep into it because I've been doing my own, but yes, that would be it.
Yeah. I love that. What do you have as a guilty pleasure?
Right now I am watching Below Deck.
I was going to say, is it something on Netflix? Okay. I've never seen that. I've never watched that. Yeah. All right. I'll have to check it out. And then our final question that we wrap with every episode. We named the company Digital Business Evolution because I believe you're always evolving and growing. And as you do, your business evolves and grows with you. So what is your next personal or business evolution?
I really think to stepping back into the leadership role by hiring the team. That's when we go into business for ourselves, we're kind of can run free and make all the decisions. And I think now my business is becoming bigger than me.
Oh, would you look at that? You need to hire someone yourself. You need to clone yourself.
Exactly.
I love it. Bridgette, I'm so grateful for you. As always, if you loved this episode, which I know you did, let us know about it. Take a screenshot, share it out on social media. What I'd actually love you to do is take a screenshot of you purchasing the book. Let us know that you got the book. Tag Bridgette at I am Jessica DeRose. That's not yours. I am Jessica DeRose. You're Bridgette Boucha, Boucha. Tag us, let us know, or when you get your ticket to go to the New York City book tour meetup. Yes, with all the money queens. I love it so much. And let us know what your takeaways are. Let us know what your tickets are. Let us know that you got the book. I'm excited to hear everyone else's takeaways. And I know my copy will be waiting for me when we get back to Arizona because I am a physical copy girl. I love my physical copies of books. So that's the end of that. As always, friends, cheers to your evolution. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you loved this episode, I invite you to be a part of our ripple effect and share it with a friend. And please, if you feel called, take 30 seconds to leave a 5-star review, and I'll be forever grateful. Until next time, cheers to your evolution.